Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. It's Friday Fun Day, and I have a super fun project for us to do today. We're going to make letter beaded bracelets. Now, this is one I did for our demo, and I used the word yarn and some beautiful beads. This one says coffee. It even has some little hearts. So basically it says, I love coffee. I better put that one on. And how about this one? Wooden beads, and it says crochet. Super fun to make, super easy, and so many different possibilities. You can use any medium weight number 4 yarn. This one is cotton, this one is acrylic, and this one is actually a combination of cotton and acrylic. I used wooden beads, I used plastic beads. These silver ones are plastic also. You can use any beads that you want as long as you can get your yarn and your needle through the holes. Aren't these fun? Now, if you want to make them smaller, they're made to be dangly. But if you want to make them smaller, you just do less chains. And I'll explain all that later on in the video. This one has a little tassel. This one does, but this one doesn't. So you can add a little tassel with matching beads for a little extra fun. This is a super fun project. You can find the complete pattern on my blog. And as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. Now go get in your yarn stash and in your bead stash, and let's make some fun bracelets. So to make our letter beaded bracelets, you're going to need some beads, of course. Now I have 2 kinds of beads that I used. I used these wooden ones on this one, and I spelled out the word crochet. And then of course I have some other beads on the sides. And I love these. They make a nice little dangle bracelet. But if you want it to be tighter, just do less chains. And I'll talk more about that when we start the project. Okay? You're going to need about 13 to 18 beads, however many you want on there. On this one, I used some little silver beads, and I spelt out coffee. And I used some pony beads and some hearts, just for fun. And it really is a lot of fun to make these. One thing I do suggest is that you do not put a child's name on a bracelet. You can use like maybe their initials or something that they love, like gymnastics or cheer. You can do things like hope, faith, charity, love, or you can do things like I've done. This one I'm going to spell out yarn for our demonstration, and I've got some other beads here. I really love these wooden beads. I bought the wooden beads and these silver beads at my local Hobby Lobby. But you can find beaded letter beads at Walmart, Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, just about anywhere where they sell craft supplies. I have seen them from time to time at my local Dollar Tree. And I've found a lot of really nice beads, especially wooden beads there. And so don't count them out for a place to get beads. Now, if you want to make a bracelet, but you don't want to put any words, you can do it all in just beads. Instead of using the word yarn, add more beads. Okay? The key is you want to center those beads on your bracelet. It takes very little yarn. I don't even think an ounce of yarn to make one of these bracelets. You can use any medium weight number 4 yarn. This one is cotton. This one is acrylic. I even added a little tassel on this one, and I'll show you how to do that as well when I make today's demonstration. So, about an ounce of any medium weight number 4 yarn. This is some leftover cotton that I had. It's a stripy yarn. I don't mind. I'm just going to use this as the base of my bracelet, and we'll put those bright beads on there, and it's going to be beautiful. So you're going to need about an ounce of a medium weight number 4 yarn, about 13 to 18 beads of your choice. The key is to make sure that your needle can get through the beads. You don't want it to be a struggle. All right, so we're going to stitch with our H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter. And of course, you need a needle to weave in your ends. And I really recommend you use a straight needle when adding beads. I like those bent needles for weaving in ends, but they're a little bit tricky when you're trying to add beads on. All right, and then the last thing you need, of course, is a pair of scissors. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our needle onto our yarn, and this is our working yarn that we're going to be crocheting with. And so I'm just going to put all my beads on in the order that I have laid them out. Now, I would lay them out if I were you so that you don't have to go pick around your, I was going to say bean box, your bead, not bean box. Make sure your letters and your words are spelled right and you're going the right direction. Just put all your beads on that you're going to use for your project. Yep, something's in the way there. Let's go this way. There we go. And as we work our project, we'll be pushing those beads forward. All right, so the first step is to get our beads onto our working yarn. So now I'm going to take my needle off and set it aside. And now we'll start our project. And as we work, we'll push our beads forward until we need them. All right, so we're going to start with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 31 chains. I have chained 31 chains. Now this is going to give us a bracelet that's approximately 8 inches around. We want it to be loose enough to slide onto your hand because we're not going to put a latch on it in any way. Okay, but we don't want it to be so loose it's going to slide right off your hand. So you can add or subtract any amount of chains that you want to. The thing is when you do that, make sure you adjust your beads so that they end up in the center of your bracelet. Okay? If it's off by 1 or 2, it's not really going to matter as far as where the beads lay because we're going to make it going back and forth in rows and then attach it together at the end. Okay? So I've chained 31. We're going to begin by placing a single crochet in that second chain from the hook, and then we're going to just stitch a single crochet and get in there. All right, we're going to stitch a single crochet in each of our chains across and just continue to push those beads forward until we need them, which will be the next row. So 1 single crochet in each of our chains working across our row. We began in the second chain from the hook and we stitched a single crochet in each of our chains across. So we have 30 single crochets. Chain 1 and turn. Now I'm going to single crochet in the first 4 single crochets. Our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to put our first 4 beads on. All right, so we'll pull 1 bead forward. We'll single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. And then we'll repeat that 3 times for our 4 beads. Oops, there we go. they didn't want to scoot down. All right, push our last bead and single crochet in the next two. 1 and 2. All right, now something that happens is those beads, we're stitching on the back side, but those beads naturally push to the front. All right, and so there's our first 4 beads on our bracelet. Now, something to remember, as you put your beads on, you may have a different amount than I do. I have 12 here. You may have a bigger word or doing all beads, not letters. And remember, you're going to have to look at those 30 stitches and make sure that you try your best to center those in the center of your bracelet. Sometimes it's impossible, and it's not that big of a deal, but you just want to work on that and try your best to get your beads centered on the center of your bracelet. Now we're going to do our word, and it really is exactly the same. I'm going to push up my first letter and single crochet in the next 2 single crochet stitches. 1 and 2, pull up my A, 1 and 2, pull up my R, and my Y. And again, those beads are on the front side of our bracelet. Isn't that cute? I just love that. So now we're just going to repeat what we did here with the rest of our beads. So we'll pull up a next bead, single crochet in the next 2. All right, here's my last bead, and then we'll just single crochet in whatever amount of stitches we have at the end. You may have 3, you may have 4, you may not have any, depending if you adjusted the size of your bracelet. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. This is how it looks on the back side, and this is how it looks on the front side. Now, if you're using smaller beads, I would suggest that you not do the stitch in between, or they'll look too spaced out. And then if you use smaller beads and put them closer together, you're going to have more stitches on the ends. All right? All right, so we chained 1, and now all we're going to do is just single crochet back across. So we're just going to place 1 single crochet in that first stitch and in each stitch across. Now, it can be a little bit clumsy stitching behind those beads, and so what you need to do is watch where we have those V's, those stitches. I always say it looks kind of like a braid. And make sure that you put 1 stitch in each of those set of stitches. And we'll just work all the way back across our row. And see how that looks? Isn't that beautiful? Alrighty, so I'm just going to stitch back across my row, and then I'll show you how to put the 2 ends together and how to make just a fun little tassel or tassel. I always say tassel because my grandma said it that way, but we call it a tassel. And I'll show you how to do that on your bracelet. This is such a fun project. So now our bracelet is complete. We're going to go ahead and cut our yarn, and I like to leave a long end, and I also like to leave a long end at the beginning or when we start. All right, so now we need to put them together. So I'm going to thread my needle onto this end. And I like to open up the ends when I'm using cotton because I think it makes it easier to thread the needle. There we go. Now we're going to put the two ends together. And we're just going to make a few stitches. So we're going to make sure we get a good stitch at the top. And I just call this a whip stitch. You could slip stitch this together if you wanted to. I just like doing it this way. Make sure everything stays lined up. And this will bring those two ends together. And then I like to take these two ends and tie them. Okay, I'm going to do this type of knot. And try to get that as close to that bracelet as possible. All right, now, if you're going to put a little tassel or tassel on here with your beads, let this hang. If not, weave it in to the inside of your bracelet. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put these beads on, and this will make a nice little tassel. So I'm going to grab one of the blue ones and one of the pink ones and put it on this strand, and then the other strand is where we began. So make sure when you begin you start with a little bit longer of a tail, and we'll put these two on here. All right. And then we're just going to tie these two in that same sort of knot where we bring it around like this. And I want to give it a little bit of room, but I want to have a little bit on the end too. So I'm going to get a nice snug pull, and then we'll clip those even. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to open up those threads. And you can do this with acrylic also. It just gives it a little bit of a tassel look. And then you have your beads, and they can sit however you want them to. Isn't that cute? So now my bracelet is complete. I can just slide it on, and it won't slide off because it's not too tight and it's not too big. And again, you can adjust the size. Maybe you want it to be a little bit tighter on your wrist. You can make less chains. Isn't that cute? I just love it. This is this one. Then I can slide on my coffee one. And wear my crochet one too. Aren't those adorable? I just love them.